Hi, I'm Chris McIntyre, and this is Almost Above Average. For the majority of my adult life, I was up to no good and was definitely in need of a change. I failed many times trying to change on my own, but it was listening to others that finally got me headed in the right direction. Being able to listen and take advice saved my life, and I'm still listening. I'm seeking out interesting people, stories, and experiences to share with my audience in hopes that you too will learn something to add value to your life. Thank you for tuning in, and get ready for another action-packed episode of Almost Above Average with Chris McIntyre. Please share with a loved one, and we would really appreciate a 5-star review. Thank you, and enjoy. Now let's jump into the conversation with our guest, and hopefully we can all learn something together.
This is Almost Above Average.
I understand that this is keeping you from being productive. I understand that you just switched sentences. So now I was ecstatic. Went back to the doctor, not necessarily eye contact all the time. I'm walking in there, yeah, how you doing? Whatever. So he's looking at the chart and he looks up, sure. And in my head, I'm like,
What now?
what? Right.
What you got for me?
Because I had no enough appointments. I did because I didn't want to see him. I didn't want to see him until I got right.
Yeah.
So it was like,
You're going to go show him in there. That's what you're doing, right?
Right. I'm leaning back. Yeah, you see the name? What's up? Congratulations. Yeah. Mm-hmm. About that. Run the number thing up.
Yeah. What, we got 5 more years? What's up?
Right. So it was like, remember the end of Mr. and Mrs. Smith? You seen the movie?
I have.
Until they go into marital trouble, and the counselor is like, "Well, how often are you guys intimate?" They're like, they can't figure it out. And so at the end of the movie, after they have this whole explosive, tumultuous situation, they go and they're sitting at the therapist's office, and he's like, "Ask this next question." Like, yeah, no, ask this next question. And she was all bashful and much. I'm like, yeah, we handle that. So yeah. Run the number thing back. And he was like, hey, you keep this up. You get out like another 20 years on top of what you were doing. And I was like,
So 15. Now I got 35? Is that what you're saying?
I was like, I can do something with that time. And not to say that is, the stop clock. But I'm like,
Yeah, but so many more things open up, right? Especially a guy like you, you're always thinking of, what am I going to do next?
You know what I can do with another 30 years? I'm going to be the flyest 75. I'm like, I can do something with my time.
Yeah.
Right? Once I realized I needed to do better with my time. Mm-hmm. Right? And so he asked the question, I asked him the question, he's like, so you did it. Like, did you see the nutritionist? I was like, I did. He said, you accept the license? What? I did. He's like, man, can you come and talk to somebody? Right? And so I did.
Nice. Like a success story. Share your wins with us.
Yeah.
Teach us how we did it, how to do it.
Medical care, yeah? All right, no problem. Listen, but what happens oftentimes, we just pivot expression. We don't know what's tackling the problem.
Right. Well, because all of those things, like at least in my experience, drinking, overeating, doing drugs, those things they're just symptoms of something going on. Those are medicines you're treating yourself with because you don't know what the problem is. For me, it was anxiety, I think. I just had terrible anxiety.
It's so interesting that you say that. I was in a meeting this morning. And we decided, because I was talking about it in the other group that we spoke about earlier, right? And we're like, well, what's going to be the format? So we said, well, we have this component here of mentorship in this area, and then we have that component in physical fitness and have nutritional undertone that undergirds have accountability and
some spiritual stuff in there,
emotional sobriety, spiritual maturity or acuity. And it was like, yeah, those things will be wonderful, but then it just creates a codependency on that group because you're not. It's empowerment. I don't want to take away from group settings. I belong to several groups that make me feel good. I'm glad to be a part of them. Right. And I feel like I'm doing good, which makes me feel better as a person. Cool. But I feel better as a person with my issue. And
what do you mean by that? With your issue?
Yeah. And so, one of the concerns that I have with public interest groups is that it makes people feel better, but they feel better with their issue. In that, if I have a codependency for substance and I join your club and you guys are doing volunteerism, I'll feel great about my day and myself, but I still have a codependency with substance abuse.
Yeah, that didn't go away.
Right.
You get distracted for a minute, maybe?
Correct. I feel good, and that's important, but I still have my issue.
Right.
I can go and do community service, be a part of a spiritual service, be a part of any wonderful thing. I can do a podcast,
right,
and leave with my issue because we're not addressing the issue. And everything is positive. These are all positive things. I mean, very nurturing and supportive context.
Yeah.
But still, I go home and, I've got my websites loaded. I've got my lighter ready. I've got things chilled on the ice. I've got, DoorDash ready to
drop off my nachos
and fried chicken.
Yeah.
I leave all of these positive spaces with my issue.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, I don't want individuals that are coming to, let's face it, out of life to leave the same way. And so in order to facilitate something where individuals actually feel like they are better and not just feel better, you have to speak to the issue.
Right.
And so you say, you think it might be anxiety. And one of the, I won't even say the codes that we're cracking, but just in studies, a lot of our behaviors, it was probably, because you said stopped. I don't know, 25 years ago, there was this influx of diagnosis of ADHD.
Yeah.
And all the kids want.
Yeah, everybody has that.
And you stop diagnosing. And ADHD is a form of anxiety. And I mean, everyone comes up with ADHD and they all claim to look at their own studies, right? But it's the attention deficit disorder. It's not that the individual cannot pay attention. It's they're not receiving enough attention for the task at hand. So
they need validation.
Constantly.
That sounds like me.
Somebody who wants to be flashy, somebody who wants people to like them.
Someone who wants to start their own podcast and their own clothing line and their own...
Somebody who's like, yeah, I gotta have 15 books a quarter coming out, I gotta have a course, I gotta have this, and they gotta be the guy to feel like anybody.
Right.
So if I'm gonna be anybody, I've gotta be everybody. And so if I'm working on one thing, and this isn't giving me the coolest surprise right now, then I'll pivot to something else. Right? If that's not getting me a Grammy, then I've got to pivot over here. And if that's not getting me the award in cosmetology, I've got to become a director. And then I've got to be an actor. And then I've got to do something else. And I've got
What are you telling the people here my life plans?
Listen,
that's not cool.
I'm talking me.
Oh,
right?
Okay, good.
Like, what are you doing now? I'm the sex trainer. I bet you are. That's what you're doing right now.
Right. I train bull riding.
This is exactly what I do. And we have classes. We're working out how that signs up. I don't know how conducive this is going to be for my relationship, but we tend to be very understanding human beings. If that doesn't work, we'll pivot to another thing.
Yeah.
Right. And so at the core of inconsistencies, infidelities, securities, all of the ills of the world and how we function is an anxiety of, I'm not going to be validated if I do just that. So
I think that just summed up my alcoholism right there, probably.
And this is what I'm here for. Not to let it be arrogance, right? But in in what we're looking to put together.
Right.
Right. We want to actually have impact, because now that we have put a label to it, how do you now treat that? Because if we treat that, you can actually function without the addiction.
Right.
And that be pivoting the behavior.
Well, then all my other addictions that I traded it for would go away, right? I wouldn't be going to the gym every day. I wouldn't be desperately trying to make content every day.
You would find out what it is to be in your skin without needing other people to like it. And that's such a foreign space. Yeah. Sometimes we don't want to let that go.
Right. That's a hard road to choose to go down.
It's like, because we have masked our issue with productivity. That's the worst addiction. That's my addiction.
Me too.
That's my...
I want everybody to know that I'm busy all the time. I'm doing something.
If you don't know it, you'll see the products. Right. And I am miserable when I'm not productive. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? I'm working. I've got so much stuff that I'm working on. What's else a day?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, well, when do you stop? When do you get tired of eating? Okay? And I look at you, right? You just eat and grow. You know? Keep doing that. And so, see, the world is your oyster. And we want to accomplish everything. And these are good things. And sometimes we do good things from a good place, not for a good reason. Yeah. What if you got your way? Would you still do it? Depends on the thing. Right. Every time. Right. Very situational. Yes. It's my case. Yeah. I would still do elderly care. Yeah. Yeah, I sure would. Without a doubt. I would still donate to the organizations I donate to for the goodwill that they do. I may not write as many posts. I'd like to think I would still still try to help alcoholics recover, or addicts and alcoholics. I think that is a core value that has nothing to do with credit to me. Mm-hmm. So I think there's one. Right. But as far as everything else, I want you to know that I'm doing a podcast. I want you to know about this music that I'm putting together. I want you to know about my roofing job. My dad had a plaque in his office. And we had a lot of blacks in his office. Nice. And so he was, I don't know if you remember, like back in the day, like 90s, it was very immense. It was a big deal, right? It was one word, in every workplace you've ever been in. Yeah, it was huge at that. It went viral. It was a dentist's office. It was a very whole plaques. Right. And one of them, my second favorite, well, the first one is my favorite. I hate it. So it said, "Could you come to rush? Hey, that. Like, your lack of preparation is not constitution. Yeah, hated that. I love that one. Now it's my favorite. Let me tell you something. Okay, just because you forgot your shoulder pads doesn't mean that I have to stop what I'm doing and go home and get you something. Yeah. Your lack of preparation does not constitute my budget. When I was sitting there, I hated that plan. I need to share that with my family group chat. It does not constitute my emergency. Yeah. Right. But the one that sticks out in my work that helps me share where I used to never share me. I would write. Like genuine you? Yeah, I would have written about that. This would have been an article. Yeah. Well crafted. Correct. Well worded. I would never just talk it out because I'm like, man, this content goes away. Yeah. So I did not make genuine friendships because I didn't leave room for genuine connection. You would only be a friend with my brand. Right. You know me how I wanted you to know me. Correct. Mm-hmm. And so all these, I tell you my book, you'd be impressed with the book. Mm-hmm. And you'd like me because you read the book that I wrote, but we wouldn't have this conversation. Right. Because I would have to get credit for. You'd be speaking from a point like as the author, not Joe Shepard. Correct. You'd be like, I'm the author, Joe Shepard. Right. So you'd be like, hey, in chapter 6 you said such and such and such, and I would give, when Dr. Joe Shepard as the author from chapter 6, and that had this plaque that grounds me often. And in these moments, you'd be amazed at what can be accomplished, but it doesn't matter. Just a minute. I love that. So much good, so much healing, so much healthy relationships. I sabotaged and didn't allow things because I had to write this before I communicated with you. I had to get credit first before I allow this to be a healthy friendship. Yeah, gotta make sure my credit's there first. Yeah, let me put the intellectual property first, and let me correct this. And then we can explore all the things. If you just then let me have your ideas. If you just sign this non-disclosure, right? Which is important in business. I'm not suggesting that we be reckless with things because everyone is your friend. And so with associates, someone saying, "Yeah, I want to have a meeting." Yeah, there's a non-compete clause right there because I don't want to give you my idea. Yeah, and then use it as your idea. So now you have the almost above average. So yes, be very careful, but you want to have your public release forms for your guests because they have to sign the consent to release that. Thank you for bringing that up. Non-disclosure clauses that include non-disclosure agreements that include non-compete clauses. So when you have ideas, because you share your ideas, because you're in a creative space, if they run with that idea, I'm going to protect that. And now you might be a little frustrated if I've seen my ideas on trucks. I've seen my ideas at conferences. I've heard my ideas on radios.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen my idea on stage, and it's not the warm feeling that you might imagine if you don't protect it and then you're not acknowledged for the idea. I'm talking about, when I say I've seen my idea, I've seen someone else.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I get it. You're like, I had that idea, but I didn't do anything with it. And you see somebody else that has, and you're like, this.
Or I shared it with them.
Oh, yeah.
And because I was so busy making headphones.
Now he stole
I was telling you that my next thing was microphones.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get around to it, I'm going to develop a microphone that does this. And you're like, wow. But I'm working on headphones.
Yeah.
And then I look up.
You got a microphone.
You've invented the microphone that I told you about.
Yeah.
Right? Because you may have had the resources, the time, you had the backing, the investors that got behind you.
Right.
And man, you're killing it. And you have the nerve to invite me to your show. And I'm like, dude, that's my microphone.
Right.
I invented that microphone. How are you up there smiling? I've seen that on trucks, that on stages. I've been to banquets and awards. I've seen people awarded for my idea.
That's some great knowledge you're giving me here today.
So this is why conversations often have my head, I just need a little clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Not because you're not my brother.
Right.
We don't know how to do business with family.
I know it doesn't work. I try.
Hey, bro, just want to be clear on the thing so that I understand. Well, there's no problem.
Right.
If you understand you're doing business with your family. Doing business doesn't always mean making money off of or giving money to, because we don't have to know what value you present. And so we've talked probably 10 different topics. Wall content.
Tons of content.
Right? Wall content. That's for family.
Right.
We're going to podcast that we're going to do tomorrow. They're going to ask me about chapter 6.
Brush up on chapter 6.
Right. And I'm going to quote chapter 6. Find a material release form and not compete, because they're not going to be able to use chapter 6 quotes in the podcast with another author. And to go through all of that tape.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is to be a guest on a non-family member show.
There's a lot of steps in there.
Correct. Yeah. Because it's my intellectual property.
Right.
Right. So I have to protect what I'm saying, and I have to make sure that you're going to cast my words in the best light. What questions are you going to ask? I need your 10 questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
So I heard you cheated on your wife. Tell me all about it.
that's the times and the worst of times. I grew as an individual, but in my growth, there were casualties. We're not foreseeing of casualties.
Right.
And I want to live as a parent. I feel like I have a responsibility because hindsight is 2020, and it's also true. Foresight is 2020. We just don't have it. So I was like,
Seeing the future?
you can only look in the rearview mirror and see clearly. Something's wrong with how you're driving your vehicle.
Yeah.
You have this big.
Every now and again, look ahead.
There's a windshield.
Yeah.
That's also 2020.
Right.
Danger, pothole, red light, police, sting operation, shootout,
You can see all that stuff.
traffic. It's there. Only able to look in your rearview mirror like, wow, that was a terrible idea. I should have never gone there.
Yeah. Glance in the rear view, but look out the
But
windshield.
focus on how you're driving.
Yeah.
And, we have that, hindsight is 2020. Okay.
I'll be there.
Yeah, it is. It sure is. And so is the side view, and so is foresight. And so, I don't know how fast I was driving in the rear, going full speed ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Then I hit those brick walls. I was going 90 miles an hour to nowhere. And just flat on my face. And send all the baby please. And that's I'm sexual. These things, what I like is not big. I can see where you're coming from. And if I were in your shoes, I would see things the exact same way.
Right.
Let's imagine this from my perspective for me. Okay? And so that was my momentum in wanting to help my sons drive full speed ahead.
Yeah.
And so therein, I think they were like 8 and 4. And I'm writing a dissertation, dedicating it to my sons.
To your 8-year-old?
To the 4-year-old.
Very meaningful.
Yes, this is for you, son. What?
I don't even know what you're saying.
Probably still haven't read it.
Right.
Like, I'm almost sure it's not. Right. And that was my first book. My defense was my first book. And I'm very proud of that work, from where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we do things for the right reasons, from a good place. I think that's exciting.
Absolutely. Would you mind bringing me a copy of that book? Do you have one?
I wouldn't mind. Yeah.
That'd be good.
if you do,
I'll go through your catalog.
from a good place for the right reasons, good things happen, and you might end up almost above average.
Almost. And with that, thank you, Dr. Joe, for being on the Almost Above Average podcast. So again, this is going to turn into something great. You have a lot of really good things to say, and I'm happy to do it.
Appreciate a good conversation.
Yeah, it was a great conversation. I'm going to do what you suggested with this. When I go to edit it, I'm going to chop it up in a few different parts, and I'll release them. I'll schedule them all like the next month. I'll put them out Tuesday night every Tuesday night for the next month. And then I have that content already ready. And then what I always do when I'm in here editing, like I do the whole podcast, post it, and then I take it back in my editing software and I usually try to make 3 clips of the podcast just to blast it out on socials. But yeah, man, that was good stuff. As we reach the end of this captivating episode of Thoughtful Thursdays with Chris McIntyre and Dr. Joe Shepard on Almost Above Average, we've explored the depths of weight loss, addictions, and a life-changing story shared by Dr. Shepard. Let these insights fuel your journey towards personal growth and transformation. And remember, every challenge is a stepping stone to a brighter future. Stay tuned for more thought-provoking discussions and inspiring stories on our next installment. Thank you for joining us on this empowering journey. Until next time, keep striving for greatness and embracing the possibilities that lie ahead. And stay almost above average.